Hey, this is Brandon Jones, author of the award-winning College Readiness 101 Workbook series, here with another episode of the College Readiness 101 podcast. Now, I told you I was going to bring my frat brother back. We got Evan back. We're going to be talking about three P's to time management. So we're going to talk about what it's like to be a college student, time management for a college student. This is one of the biggest pitfalls that students can fall into. Just not understanding how to, manage their time on campus, right? And so we want to get into that discussion right here. So Evan, just for those individuals who didn't get a chance to hear your last episode, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, no, most definitely. Thank you for having me back on the show. Great to be here. Once again, my name is Evan Jackson. I'm a senior at Brown University studying economics and religious studies. Really had an opportunity to get involved in campus, outside of campus. I'm currently the Junior Grand Vice Mark of Kappa Alpha Psi Fraternity Incorporated, making me the highest ranking undergraduate officer in the fraternity, where I have an opportunity to serve, our hundreds of thousands of members across the country and abroad. I also sit on the board of two international nonprofits, where I've had an opportunity to make an impact, not just at home, but really overseas as well. And then finally, I'm the founder and chief operating officer of a company, Intiscare. I'm really focused on providing software tools for geriatric care organizations. We're now serving thousands of patients across the country, working with dozens of facilities, and have completed two institutional fundraisers to this point.
That's amazing. So as we can talk about, you the perfect person to talk about time management, right?
Yes,
So
sir.
you got a lot of things going on. We got to figure out how we can still be successful in getting things together. So let's go ahead and get into it, man. Let's get right into it, man. So juggling priorities. Obviously, we talked before. I was a college athlete. You were a college athlete, but you also have all these other things going on, right? So how have you been juggling these priorities? What's going on in your head? All of this, man.
Man, that's definitely real, and I'm sure once again you as a college athlete could definitely relate. I think keeping everything straight and in order is so important. Making sure you're writing things down. For a while, as I first started getting involved in things, I was that person where my mom used to always tell me, write everything down, write it out, make your list, put everything together. And I was like, I got it in my head. Don't worry. Like, I know what I need to do. And then, miss one thing, miss the next thing. Like, there's this. And then you talk about school, your papers due. It's like all these things start piling up. And I had to humble myself a little bit and say, okay, you're only one person. You can't do this all, just in your head. You have to, really take a step back and say, I need to get these things out. If you actually want to get involved in these things, and you have to actually take the steps that it takes to do these things. You can't just say that you can just do this like you've been doing just school. You add football to the mix. You add nonprofits. You add service. You add Kappa. You add all these different things that you're doing. And you have to understand that you're doing things a different way. So you can't keep doing things the same way. And I think that's something that people don't realize. You can't just add a billion things on your plate and not change your practices. You have to adapt and make sure that you're creating processes in your own life that are going to scale as you grow and add more things, if that's what you want to do.
Absolutely. And so just even with the academics, so, I was a criminal justice forensic science major, you're economics and religious studies, right? So, economics is not known to be a easy major, right? So you got to go in and you got to do the work, right? You got to do the work. You got to prioritize. That's what you're there for. You're there for school, get an education.
As my mom would consistently remind me.
yeah, exactly. My mom too, when I was at school, you better go to get your lesson.
Yeah.
So I got it. Okay. All right. So you do have a lot of things going on, like you said, and you got to prioritize. So some things, got to be on the back burner while you are prioritizing and putting a lot of effort into other things. And so, and vice versa, those things may change at different times. Okay. All right. I got it. What about being involved on campus? Again, being involved on campus can also be a priority at times. So what does like your campus involvement look like right now?
Definitely. So in terms of staying involved with the campus, that's something I've always been committed to, making sure that, I'm not only doing things, nationally, internationally, but also making sure that I'm working as hard as I can to take care of the folks at home. That consists of a few different things. Essentially, throughout my time at campus, I've been putting together programming. I'm bringing in speakers, putting together events, not only to increase community engagement, but also to increase, political and social awareness. I want all the students around me to have this knowledge going out in the world so that we can, train up leaders, who are going to go and change the country. Not only that, but, work pretty heavily in the Black Student Union as well. Had an opportunity to work in Black in business. So helping to create, engagement through the business side of Brown. Really all of it. And, just being around, I think is really important. In the roles that I do, it does require a lot of travel. When I'm here, I try to be outside. I try to be engaged. I try to meet people. And we talked a little bit on the last episode about the importance of community to me. And I think you can only create community if you yourself is willing to say, okay, let me join and be a part of this community. And I think that people generally think of that as kind of like a bypassing thing or an involuntary thing. But really, I think you have to actively say, I'm going to step in this community and be a part of it, rather than passively sitting back and saying, oh, just because I'm this, I'm a part of this community.
Yeah. And the thing is that like you on campus, and I take my time to talk about Kappa, right? But not only are you the junior grand vice, but you're also the pole mark of your chapter, right? So leadership on top of leadership that you have to, exude and still be able to handle all of the other responsibilities.
Oh, definitely key. So so I was a 3-year pole mark on my chapter, and one of those years, also working, as the international undergraduate president, but also the president on my campus, and trying to think in those two different ways is honestly difficult. And for me, the harder of the two was working on campus, because that takes a lot of time, that takes a lot of dedication, that takes a lot of, being in the weeds with all the details as I'm preparing different events, as I'm preparing different ways to engage the community. And so now, fortunately this year, that responsibility has been lifted from me, and I've been able to take somewhat of a step back there, but it's always been really important for me to be there in that role, and very thankful to our now pole mark, David, who's really taking the lead there.
Okay. Yeah. I know what it's like, man, to be in that 20% that's doing the work, in the chapter, man. I know exactly what it's like. So if you're interested as a incoming student, interested in Greek life, I think that is a phenomenal way to train for leadership. It's a phenomenal way to build your network and be able to have more experiences, on a college campus. I love my experience as a noob on campus. So that's great. All right. So let's talk about a little bit about your personal pursuits, and then how that could, relate to other students. So I know that you have a pretty successful business already, and you are pursuing, your career already while you're in college. What is that like? And tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, for sure. No, just like you said, been working essentially full time on this business, and seeing the fruits of that and seeing those seeds that we planted start to grow. For us, as I was thinking originally through starting this company in college, I thought this was the best time to start a company. Folks were like, well, why aren't you starting this later? You haven't even graduated yet, X, Y, and Z. But from my perspective, I was like, well, if I could spend these, originally 10 to 20 hours a week starting to build work with this time that I do have, college for me was a safety net. I was like, I'm going to graduate with my degree anyway. If I need to, I can go and get a job. But for the time being, why not, mess around and see if this works? And it turned out to work. And like I said earlier, we're building these software analytics tools for geriatric organizations. And we've just seen it to grow and grow and grow. And once we built the software, people really started flocking on, and just completed our second fundraising round once again. Now I've raised almost $2.5 million to date. And I think that's really exciting for us to be, college students and to be able to walk into a room and be able to talk about this idea. And the things that I've learned at this young age are pretty invaluable to me at this point.
Oh, man, let me tell you something, man. You're innovative. You're doing great things. To be able to have a multi-million-dollar fundraising capital for your business is huge. A lot of people won't even make it that far in life, right? So now you've got it where you're building it and you're making an impact, right? Not only are you having a business, but your business is making an impact, right? For the community and as a whole. So for students who are interested in pursuing something in college, for a career, a business, entrepreneurship, you suggest that you think that they would have, this is a great opportunity to go ahead and start while you're in college.
Oh, 100%. I think, test the waters, see what's going on. And if it works, it works. And if it doesn't, it's a learning opportunity. In both ways, you walk away a winner just by doing it, because most people won't. And I think for me, I'm really starting to develop and understand where my passions lie, right? On the one end, entrepreneurship and really helping people on that side, through the business, through building business, through really working through the numbers, the analytics of building a company. And then on the other side, I've had a great opportunity to work for my community in the Black community. And so I think that, in this next step of my life, as I think about the future, that's really two pursuits that I plan to combine, and I'm going to start to work to combine, really figuring out how I can bring my knowledge of the entrepreneurial space and building a company and building a successful company with the way that I want to empower my community with the tools to continue to grow, elevate, and lift each other up.
Yeah, that's phenomenal. That's phenomenal. I love that. I love that. So let's talk about what we can do going forward. What's the lesson out of this that students can take, right? And I know that you have 3 Ps, the Noops love Ps. So we'll see how can, what are the tips that you can provide for students in preparing for something like this and being able to be successful in managing their time? What does that look like to you, and how have you kind of used that in your life?
No, most definitely. And that's a great question. For me, when I look at all the things I do and I think about time management for everything I'm adding, I think about it really through those 3 Ps. And for me, it's prioritize, plan, and prepare. And then if you want to add a 4th one on, you can say play, then it's game time. You start with the prioritization, what's important to me as I'm adding on this next piece, as I'm joining this next club. Where does it fit onto my priority list? Is it jumping to the top where, if I have multiple things that are conflicting, that's what I'm doing? Or is it something that, I want to start dipping my feet into, something that is not a priority right now, but might raise up that list? You figure that out. And then the next step is you plan. So you figure out, okay, if I'm adding this, how much time is it going to add on? What is my commitment level going to be? What do I need to do to be ready for this? You start planning, setting up those pieces. I like to try to think about all of these movements in terms of chess, thinking about what is your plan to capture the queen, or to capture the king, excuse me. You think about the prioritization, that's you figuring out who the king is, what that looks like, where that at, the plan is, what is going to be my strategy to getting there. And then you get to the 3rd P, the preparation, and that's actually going over and over in the books. If they move this way, what am I going to do? If this moves this way, what am I going to do? And what are you going to do in the face of that action? And that's something I think I really learned from the football, that preparation piece is you practice, you get ready. Folks think you can create a plan and not practice and you're ready. No. You do the reading, you get in the books. If you want to join the investments club, you read up on what's going on in the market. You prepare so that when game time comes, you're ready to come out the gates and play. And the play, becomes the easiest part. If you get those first 3 things right, the play is an afterthought, really.
Yeah. I think that's right, because you bring up a good point for those individuals who have maybe a goal of what they want to do, and maybe joining the math club or something like that helps them get somewhere. Maybe joining DECA or FBLA kind of helps them get somewhere, builds their resume, being able to be on a sports team. And maybe you want to play a leadership role, maybe you want to be a captain or a president, vice president of another organization. Is really, like you just said, prioritizing and finding a way to get to your strategy, right? Get to your strategy to get you where you want to be, and execute and play, like you said, should be an afterthought. You've done it so many times that it's just natural now.
Natural. And I think you bring up a really good point, and something I want to add that's really the hardest piece to this whole thing is taking an introspective look at yourself and figuring out who you want to be. Which is really what's going to help you align with what your priorities are, and I think that's really the hardest part. Is something I'm still figuring out. And I think that, at first, if you don't know who you want to be yet or where you want to go, you just try things. You try a few different things, dip your toes into the water. Maybe you don't, fully jump all the way in, but you start to figure out what you're passionate about, start to figure out where you want to be. So let's say, for example, you figure out you want to be a doctor, you can start to prioritize a list of things that are going to get you to that point. Yep. You don't want to have an aimless prioritization just based off of frivolous pursuits, but really thinking about and deeply taking the time to think about, where do I want to be? Who do I want to be? And what do I need to prioritize to get there? And then put in the work to get to that point.
Put in the work, right? Put in the work. Carve out the time. That's what we talk about, time management. You got to carve out the time for the things that are going to make you successful, right? And so as a college student, there's a lot of distractions. There's parties, There's a lot of other things, traveling. Definitely have those experiences. Definitely have those road trips. Definitely have to go to the parties. Definitely do all of those things. But there's got to be a balance because you're there for a reason, and you want to make sure that you can be successful when you do. Right?
Yeah,
So
most definitely. And I think it's 100% a part of that. And when you think about who you want to be, it might be someone who has a large network or someone who has a great circle of friends. And so that becomes a part of it. And you kind of have to think through all those aspects. And when I say thinking about who you want to be, I want to make sure that I leave letting people know I don't just mean academically. I don't just mean professionally.
Yep.
You have to think about it really holistically and all the pieces that you want to add, to yourself to get to be that person that you eventually want to become.
Absolutely. I am excited that I got a chance to get you on here, man, and have these conversations with us, man. So just for those individuals who, if they're interested and just want to learn more about you, how can they find out about you and your business? Where can they get more information about you?
Most definitely. So I think a great place is just on my LinkedIn. You type in Evan Jackson into Scare, it'll pop up right there. Number 2, you can follow me on Instagram. My Instagram is evanjackson.1. My Instagram is ejackson.1. That's where you can find me. You can also shoot me an email at evan@intus.care, intus.care. And I'm usually responsive on there. So feel free to reach out.
Great, Matt. Because the thing is, I can see you pulling, students behind you, reaching back, bringing some more students on who are interested in healthcare, interested in software development. I mean, what you're doing is phenomenal. I'm very excited to have you on. And not to mention you're new as well. So,
Yes,
so
sir.
I appreciate that, man. So let's close this out. So if you like what you're hearing and you want to learn more, you can subscribe to this podcast and the YouTube channel, College Readiness 101. You can also follow my Instagram and Facebook page at College Readiness 101, and you can visit my website, collegereadiness101.com. Talk to you next time.